So this bread that I made earlier on the last live is very sticky. I replaced the majority of my water with egg. Added a little olive oil and butter. And I used spelt because I'm at the bottom of my bucket for hard wheat. And it's pretty wet, but I'm gonna bake it anyway. We're gonna see what happens when we bake a gloppy mess. This cabinet's stinky. So we're gonna take our parchment and put it over top of our cast iron. It's one of the things that I like about having parchment on hand. Okay, now.
Mom, watch Puppy.
I already did a first rise.
Mom, watch Puppy.
I see Puppy. I'll be in a minute. I'm just getting this bread into a thing, into a pan. Okay, and it is very sticky. Of course, I added a little einkorn when I saw that the dough was too wet, and now it's going to be really sticky no matter what because I just added einkorn to it. And since these are softer grains, we're going to give this a try. I'm going to try to shape this mess. Okay. I'll put some olive oil on our board, like so. Okay. And dump it out. There we go. And there's still a bunch in the bottom. Now, if you go to my website, I already have a recipe for brioche, okay? And it turned out, but I was just curious to see what would happen if I did this. Sometimes curiosity kills the cat, and sometimes it's good. What am I making? I'm making an experimental bread where I substituted the majority of my water for egg. And this is what it looks like. Okay. And it's not going to shape very well. I mean, it has some gluten development, but it's also spelt. And we know spelt doesn't hold up. It doesn't have as strong of a gluten development as hard wheat, but I'm at the bottom of the bucket on the hard wheat. What country? United States. I'm in the USA. All right. There we go. We're just gonna plop this in the pan, just like so, and we're gonna bake this puppy once it rises again. I did let it rise the first time. So when I have a dough that's really wet and doesn't look like it's coming together how I want, I always do a first rise before deciding whether or not I'm gonna add more flour. Because sometimes all it takes is 20-30 minute rest and that dough looks completely different. But with this egg and all that good stuff, egg and spelt and durum, and then finally einkorn, this was just not turning out how I wanted. And when that happens, we put it in a pan and we bake it. And we're gonna see how it goes. Nope, I am not a professional. I'm actually a chiropractor, and I've been milling the flour for about 5 years. I make primarily my highest hydration Italian bread dough on a regular basis. I can convert that into an enriched bread and make it super soft, like it just falls over soft, like bends in half. And I've done that with spelt and hard wheat and einkorn, and that's great, but I get bored and I like to play with things. Oh, thanks. I always wanted to look like a professional chef now. I do get bored. I am a science-minded person, so I'm often reading about different grains and what helps to strengthen bread and stuff like that. Can you say any words? I want to see if you know how to. Oh, I do. Cuando es su dolor en la barda de la espalda. Oy. Boca abajo. I had to learn how to speak Spanish for chiropractic school. One of my patients was, I think from Argentina. He spoke Portuguese, but he understood Spanish. So I was able to learn some phrases and get through it. All right, so we're gonna let this rise on my oven. Oh, I already have the shower cap out. Right? I said, how is your back pain how is your low back pain today? It's all I remember from chiropractic school. Oh, you're from Argentina and you learned English. Okay. Yeah, actually, my patient was a chef, and he spoke Portuguese. His wife spoke English and Spanish, and so sometimes she would translate for me. And cursing in Spanish I did not learn. I think a lot of my volleyball players on the team cursed in Spanish, but they would never tell me what it said. They didn't want to say those words to me. Yeah. So, he used to talk about cooking and stuff and how irritated he would get with people trying to saute with olive oil instead of butter. He's like, he was so insistent that you could only get the reaction that you wanted because of the saturated fats in the butter. And oh man, he would go off. It was kind of fun. And so I guess I was trying to learn about cooking, and that was the first that I had heard anyone say anything even scientific about cooking. And then I took cooking classes many years ago online. It was all about the methods. And that's what I like to share with people, is how we can use the bread methods. But what I also like to share is what happens if it goes wrong. Welcome back, Banana Sunday. What happens when things go wrong in the kitchen? Nobody wants to show you that part. And so I was like, well, that happens to me a lot when I am experimenting and trying new things. And so I like to share that and how I sometimes can recover, and sometimes it doesn't turn out. But I'm not going to pretend like I'm some expert when I'm not. And I'm also not going to make it seem like everything I make turns out, because nothing everybody makes always turns out. Sorry, just not that way, right? And a lot of the bloggers out there, everything looks picture perfect. I actually heard some people who've fresh milled the flour, their pictures, they make a version without fresh milled flour so it looks better. And I thought, how dishonest, Like, just be you. Who cares what it looks like? What matters is what it tastes like. Is it good? Yeah. Like, why do people do that? I had no idea. Someone wrote me and told me how refreshing it was that I showed real pictures of my bread. And I was like, what do you mean? Why wouldn't people show real pictures? And they said they take pictures with with refined flour, and then they give you the recipe for fresh milled flour. And I was like, really? Why would people do that? What inspired me to cook? My son. I always thought I liked cooking. Okay, here's a funny story. When I was, I guess in 7th or 8th grade, my parents decided that we were all old enough to cook a meal. They had 5 kids, and I was the second youngest. And so they were constantly driving like an hour each way for us to do a million sports and stuff like that. And so Mom was burnt out and she needed help. We all had to cook a different meal, like a meal each day of the week. And then she would also cook. And I decided to make spaghetti. Okay. There's my son. And so I was trying to make spaghetti, but there was no spaghetti sauce. However, there was tomato sauce. I don't remember. There was a bunch of cans of stuff, right? Yeah, spaghetti. People like spaghetti. And then because I didn't buy spaghetti sauce with all the flavorings and stuff, I had to look in the cabinet and add some flavor to it because it didn't taste good. And so I started adding a bunch of different seasonings, and it was so bad, not even the cats ate it. There was one person who ate the entire meal, and that was my dad. He ate the whole meal very slowly and very painfully. And at the end of the meal, he said, "Thank you for putting in the effort to prepare dinner." And that was as honest as he could get, right? And then the next day was Sunday, and we talked about what the next week was going to be. We all had a family meeting on Sundays. And from there on out, it was you need to have a recipe, and you have to go to the store with Mom and shop for your ingredients for your recipe. And all my creative inspiration was just crushed. And I hated following a recipe, and I hated cooking. And from that point forward, I always thought I couldn't cook. And I couldn't. I turned the stove on high, that's what I saw my mom do. She turned it on high so it would cook faster. We ate a lot of burnt food. And then I saw Chef Todd talking about all the different methods that professional cooks use. My son, my oldest son, had said, "Mom, you should do that." And I said, "Yeah, we should do that." And so we learned all the different methods of cooking. The saute method, and how to make a roux, all the different types of sauces and stuff like that. And bread. Bread was a basic, he used 18-10-2, 18 ounces of flour, 10 ounces of water, 2 teaspoons of salt and yeast, and sugar. And I made that bread. And then when it came to milling the flour fresh, that's where I started, was with that. And everything changed when I learned how to cook. And then my son got very sick. I shouldn't say very sick. He had really bad eczema. And it was bloody eczema from the day he was born. And then around the time he was 2 or 3, it was really bad. Nobody was getting sleep. It was just, it looked so terrible. So I went to a dermatologist, and they said, "He has eczema." And I was like, "No kidding. What do we do about it?" Right? So they had me do all kinds of stuff where I put all this stuff on his legs, and I wrapped his legs, and he'd wake up the next day and his legs were drastically better. And then he'd scratch them raw again because the itching just would not go away, right? So I had him blood tested for the top allergens, and he lit up like a Christmas tree. Cats, dogs, dust, wheat, dairy, soy, egg, peanuts. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. We suspected coconut, but they didn't test for coconut. And then we were like, great, now what do we feed him? Oh, thanks for joining me. So, einkorn flour came up. I read a book on einkorn, the ancient wheat, and he could tolerate the ancient wheat. And I was like, wow, this is great. And then I couldn't get the flour, and I bought the einkorn wheat berry and just blended it up in my blender into flour. And when I did that, his eczema started to heal, and his legs look normal. Like, we lived the first several years of his life where his legs did not look normal, ever. He couldn't get a bath. He couldn't have regular water in his skin without burning his skin. Aw, thank you for waiting for mine. I wasn't sure if I was truly boring or not. But I have the bread dough rising. Did you miss that part? I'll show you. I very roughly tried to shape this dough, and I put it in the pan, and now look at it. You can see it's rough. It doesn't look smooth and beautiful, but it's rising nicely. And in another few minutes, I'm gonna pop this in the oven, bake it. Okay. Anyway, so that's how I got into milling and stuff with was the cooking classes, and then baking the bread, then my son getting really bad eczema. And once I discovered that grinding it up in the blender was healing him, I was like, what? Why would grinding the flour myself versus buying the flour from the store heal his eczema? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's just the flour. Like, it's just I did the work instead of buying it. Well, it's a huge difference, like massively huge. You get so much more when you mill the flour yourself. That has to be taken out so the flour could sit on the shelf without harming you, right? And it all clicked. I was like, oh, we're getting all our vitamins that they say aren't in the food anymore. Do you ever hear that? Where people say, oh, the food today, it doesn't have the vitamins that we used to, so you have to take a multivitamin. That's not true. It is in the food. You just have to mill the grains yourself. You know what else is massive? What? What state am I in? I'm in Pennsylvania. Anyway, it was such a big change, milling the flour. So now I have like all these grains. You're in Texas. Oh, I love Texas, except the snakes. I don't like snakes. Here, I'll show you. See, I have all my different grains. Einkorn, spelt, hard wheat, soft wheat, durum for pasta, barley, yummy for cookies, rye, also delicious, oats. Yeah, right? And I try to make bread every day or every other day. We go through it pretty quickly. Right now I'm on a sourdough kick. And, oh, that's what I have to do. I gotta feed my sourdough starter. I forgot. I made bread yesterday. I made an Italian sourdough here. And it's more than halfway gone already. You love pasta? I love pasta. Yeah, me too. And you can make your own pasta fresh milled too, which is so great because you're getting all the vitamins and you don't feel, did you ever feel like after you eat pasta or bread, low taper fade? I don't know what that is. Everybody knows that meme. I don't know that meme. I'm not a big meme person. My son, my oldest son, he liked memes, but I often didn't get them. Anyway, yeah, make all kinds of stuff. Let's feed our sourdough starter, shall we? I'm just feeding my sourdough starter, and I'm gonna get ready to put my bread in the oven.
Oh, I want something sweet.
Huh?
I want something sweet.
Something sweet? Oh, I can make you something sweet.
Okay.
Okay.
Like what?
I don't know yet. I have to think about it. Let's get our grain container out. Let's put some einkorn in this. Okay. Can you tell me when I get to 150?
105?
150. 150.
Pass.
It's past. You're right. It is past. Put them in here.
It's grams.
It's grams, so it really doesn't matter if we're over. I was just letting you have some fun. Okay, we're gonna mill this. I'm Melanie. All right, let's see. Here we go. Everybody calls me Dr. Carr, but I say Dr. Mel on here. Gasp on the fruit flies. All right, let's see. Oh!
Want me to wake that up?
I feel like I'm gonna make more of a mess. Let's wait on that. Okay. Yeah, you wanna... Careful, we don't want it to get on the floor. Let's just do it this way. Good. And then I'll go like this. Now we need a scraper. I want to scrape that up and put it in my jar. Let's see here. How about this one? Uh-oh. Oh, I don't know about that.
Now you're making mine.
Yeah. But we need to use this. Okay. You know sometimes I let you play with stuff. Right now is not the time. Okay.
See how it's clean there?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I need this for the water. So I put what? 150 grams of flour. I'm going to put about 75, 80, not put 90 grams of water in there.
Grams.
Somewhere around there. 90, 98. That's good.
99.
100.
No, 99. Can I?
Sure.
It's okay if you mix it fast.
It's fine. Yep.
Can you hold?
Thanks. All right, so what I'm making is a stiff starter versus a wet starter. A wet starter is where
Something
you do...
sweet.
No, a wet starter is where you use equal parts flour and water. A stiff starter is where you use more flour than you do water. And I really like how easy it is to swap my recipes from yeast to sourdough using a stiff starter. That's why I use it. Okay. Not everybody likes to do that, but I do. Okay. Just want to make sure it gets all incorporated. Okay. And then we put it into the bottom of the jar, just like that. And
oh, because you want it to be Monster Incorporated.
Monster Incorporated? What do you mean?
Where they scare people.
Oh, we scare people?
Where the monsters scared people for energy.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That show.
Yeah, that's...
With the person that had the snake hair.
Nobody should do that. That's awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How mean. All right.
Fire the war.
Okay. So we got that. Let's dry our hands. And here's what's cool about a stiff starter. It stays in the jar if you do it right. So we're just gonna let this do its thing up here on top of the fridge. Can you please not get my glasses all wet and dirty? I don't like that. All right, we're gonna put that bread in the oven. Oh, whoa, let's see where it's at here. Oops, I let it rise a little too high. We're making mistakes all day on this thing. This looks amazing.
A little too bad.
It might be a little overproofed. We'll see. I'm gonna put another pan right over top.
And then
we're gonna end this live.
Video.
What?
You're gonna want to watch this video.
I'm not gonna want to watch this video.
Yes, you are.
Why?
You'll see why.
Okay. I'm gonna put this in the oven at 450 for 30 minutes. There's no sugar in this bread, so it should work out that way. Shouldn't get too burnt. Okay. Set a timer.
Mom, something sweet.
What?
Something sweet.
Something sweet. I haven't come up with anything sweet yet. I'll cut up an orange. That's sweet. I don't have sugar to bake you anything right now. Tomorrow we can get some and we can make something really yummy. I might have cookies in the freezer to cook. I don't know.
Pancakes?
No, because Daddy's coming home with dinner and I'm not making a mess. We do this every single Saturday. Daddy gets food. You decide you want food while he goes to get it.
Yeah, because he takes so long.
He's not taking long. He already ordered it. We're going to end this because I don't want to be arguing. Ooh. Do I do that to you? No. Don't do that to me. My patience, dude. I'm sorry. No, you're not pissing me off. Yeah, that kind of attitude, he's got a temper problem. It is hard to watch. Somebody just said you're rude. Yeah. Well, stop, you're pissing me off. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because you hit your mom. That was rude. Have a good day. I hope it's better than ours.